Manever I say ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV there, I see them yopo.
We had issues of, under his own watch, we had the issues of missing excavators, right? Where Horace, and wherever he is, hello to him, Akosua. Now, Eko is not your poster child for all things perfect and good and sanctimonious. But maybe because it was Horace or Akosua saying so, he wasn't believed that, I'm not the one making these decisions. If excavators are seized and they are released, it's the chairman of the committee who subsequently releases them. It's his say-so. He has the final word. There was a lot of back and forth. Now, it comes to light that he actually owns a mining company where he and his wife are directors of the company. His own son has tagged himself King of Gold, amongst other things. Now, the question is, at what point in time did his sense of ethical responsibility kick in? Is it when he was dropped as minister? Where was his moral intuition, which has all of a sudden erupted? Which other way to describe it? His conscience of virtues, where he's laying fingers and pointing blame at everybody but himself. And the question everybody asks, and I used to think that it was a petty question, but the more I think about what has transpired in the last couple of weeks, the more I realize that there's some validity to asking that question. That is it because he was dropped as a minister, because he's no longer in that space to supervise the activities of his son. There's a letter as far back as 2014, concessions, asking for concessions, not to say that the work they were doing were illegal. But of course, if you have a company and you yourself is also engaged in one, giving your sense of moral intuition, giving your sense of ethical responsibility, all of a sudden you want to champion yourself as the advocate for all things good, and you want to clamp down their activities. You should have recused yourself as the chairman of the committee, or even to say that I do not want that position, because there are certain things I might be doing that will look bad on government or implicate government. So when it comes to him, and I absolutely admire all that he's achieved, especially in the medical space, but on this score, his utterances, his actions, and his inactions are not aligned in the interest of the very good he wants to champion. They aren't. He's the last person to talk about it. And if you do believe that you have a case, provide the evidence. He should. You do not say, and when she said, oh, but he's written, you don't write something and leave it there. Follow it through. Show up. If it's testimonies you have to give, show up. Mention the names. There are people that have done this without fear or favor, subsequently reneging on some of the utterances they made because it was based on hearsay. But if you do feel that, as chairman of the committee, you have evidence, show up and give that evidence. Because the last, and the president said,
how do you want him to show up?
Oh, Annie, for him to say, and I heard it myself, that
so let me
he's provided...
For the AG to say that, well, I investigated, I called him, he didn't show up. How does the AG on his own calls him in secret? No, the public knows nothing about it. Right now it's his word against Prof. We don't know he called him. We don't know what investigation he has conducted.
In the same way,
and Prof mentioned names in the report.
In the same way,
for you to come and say that, well, I have investigated.
All of us sitting here. All of us sitting here.
That's not enough.
All of us sitting here. If I was to say that Nanekia is wearing more gold than all of us combined, and as such she's engaged in galamsey, so we should investigate her. Nanekia can easily say that she's not a government official. She's not paid by her taxes. She can't be roped in any allegation whatsoever. You understand? But then you have alleged something, that she's a beneficiary of someone's activities. He comes to say that giving the tenor, right, of his, as chairman of the committee or whatnot, he has some intelligence, or he was privy to certain things. He threw some of his own colleague ministers under the bus, and then also called them to apologize, that he wasn't sure of what he was saying. He did that. Now, there are things that happen behind the scenes that we also can't always put out there. But in terms of the AG calling him in secret is not necessarily something that needs to happen. He needs to put into the same documents that he sent or the public letters he's writing, mention Annie Ampofo, CEO of Gold Star Limited, concession Bibiani 1 and 2, forests, location, whether it's close to a river or close to something. List all those things. List the times they went in. If as chair of the committee, he has information more than anybody else. But you can't just, especially the timing of it, throw it there, leave it and say, I've said it, so you if you really want to catch them, go and catch them. Then we'll start with him. And it makes me wonder, is he preempting something? Because if we are to start, you yourself, there's a company that you are led to be involved with, that you and your wife are directors of. Your son is also in a company. And then as chair of the committee, especially, and I'll say it again, in terms of his ethical responsibility, if we are to say that, okay, you knew this, and people hide things all the time. It doesn't matter whether you're a state agent, people can hide things so brilliantly that no matter what you do, unless they volunteer the information, you might never have it. What is he preempting to be mentioning all these things and throwing it out there when he himself was complicit? So I think that it's not enough to allege and grant interviews.
Was Prof Frimpong a complicit to Galamsey activities?
I'm saying that when you're complicit, is not you standing in the mine yourself and digging.
Yeah, that's fine. But
but in terms of what he's saying now,
on the basis of what you
on the basis of what you are saying now, he was chairman of the committee, meaning that he supervised all that. Did he turn a blind eye then? Do you understand? So yes, if we are going to investigate and find persons culpable, then he himself, it starts with him. So what is he preempting? His son Jojo, there's a letter out there that I saw as far back as 2014.
I know.
You saw that
yes.
as well. So if you know, and this is sometimes what we say when it comes to the political class or the elites, whatnot, that you know the things you're supposed to do, you know the things you're not supposed to do. But you get in a certain position and you turn a blind eye. This man was all things upright, just. Hey, a heart surgeon, one mistake, you are gone. I mean, you can't buy hats or body parts at ShopRite or Game or wherever. Now, you consequently get yourself from his own way of handling affairs. People on the committee dropped out. He had issues with Akosua by virtue of his. I don't want to say Eko is a naughty boy or whatever, but there are some people that people don't want to believe, especially when they are when you pitch them against persons like Frimpong Boateng. So you and Frimpong Boateng are standing there saying something. Who are people likely to believe? Frimpong Boateng. So there are issues that were leveled against him. But again, in terms of evidence or things we can hold on to, it seemed literally impossible to believe that he would do those things. Only for him to, and there's a certain pattern in terms of what he says, how he recovers from it, apologies that would tacitly go to certain persons. And it pains me to even talk about it. I'm telling you, Anya, as I'm sitting here talking about this, my mother is sitting at home, just probably like this, that, I shouldn't even be in a position to discuss it. But it's important because you've laid a certain foundation in a fight that we are all up in arms over. Because like you said, if it gets to a point where we can't even drink water, people are making a rational decision based on the now, on what an irrational decision based on the now, on what they can get now. It's all about money. Nobody's thinking in the end that you make all the money, but you have to import everything you have to eat and drink. Then what's the point of it? So when it comes to him,
this committee was set up to fight the Galamsey menace. From your account, I can conclude that Professor Frimpong Boateng failed to the task that he was actually put to. And eventually that would lead to the fact that this government has failed in fighting corruption, in fighting Galamsey.
You mean, has he failed?
Yes.
I don't need to say he's failed. He's come to admit he's failed. But he's shifting the blame on someone else.
So he failed?
I believe he failed. If the worst thing for any leader in any position is to not account for your stewardship. So, you know when Nanaya was talking about fufu, when I clearly, I think she likes, Nanikria was talking about fufu, I think she likes fufu because the fufu woman are not watching. But if we were to have a conversation on fufu, Nanikria, deforestation, look at fufu, ways of making fufu now. Now people have discovered that you blend the cassava and the plantain and you just knead it and you are done. There's no pounding or physical exertion or anything. So why should we even encourage fufu?
No,
but of course,
no, that argument,
that area.
As I sit here, when you do that argument, I will not.
Deforestation.
No, I will not.
Fufu trumps deforestation.
I would not support the blending of fufu. There are two different things.
To save the trees, you won't blend your fufu.
No, I won't save any tree
to blend your fufu. Okay, so let Annie know that her food and the fufu matters to her more than the blending. But let's get to the substances. It was by the way,
and it's still the nation's.
I think
and it's still the nation's interest. It must be the nation's interest
in
health
and fufu
and procedures.
What measures people's hands in your food, people pounding, sweat dripping in certain areas. I mean, fufu is not always made in the best of hygienic conditions, but for some people they'll say it adds the flavor. But I don't want to digress.
Don't. Because that is a different.
Yes, let's not even make it. If you ask me that did he fail, I'm saying that on account of what he's saying now, it means he failed.
So
but
the NPP
he shouldn't. No, I'm saying it's not the failure on his part. Of course, it comes back to us because he was put in charge. But has there been a real fight? There has. We are no longer laying fines on people. You go to jail. It serves as a deterrent to other people. Is it serving as a deterrent? It is.
Is it?
I believe so, Annie. If we are going to look at the numbers going in, then I believe that we need data over a period of time. But if 46 persons have gone in, Annie, we've said that we need to clamp down hard. How do we clamp down hard? One of the things that this government did was you reorganize and restructure small-scale mining. Community mining is a real thing. The Minerals Commission CEO has sat here for 2 to 3 months, if I recall, right after Randy, especially between Tuesdays and Thursdays. He comes to sit here and he highlights all the work that has gone in. And when it comes to small-scale community mining, it's nowhere near any river body.
Community mining.
Yes, they don't do it. I sat here and listened to him.
That's not entirely factual.
If it's not, of course, people, in the same conversations that we had, when people breach and are mining close because there's a certain perception that the closer they are to a water body, the more the minerals show up, amongst other things that they believe in. But in terms of prospecting, moving from prospecting, in terms of what he has said, if he really wants to fight it now that his moral conscience has arrested him, he should make it easy on the AG. There are whistleblowers who give information without even showing their face. And they will tell you point A to C and show you where all the lines stack up together.
You remember when in terms of prospecting, this argument about Akunta mining, someone actually educated me about prospecting. The person said that there isn't so much difference between prospecting and actual mining. In prospecting, you might be doing almost the same thing like mining, but you cannot take the minerals. That's if you're able to identify them. You're giving a certain period to work within in terms of prospecting, and then you report back, and then they'll give you the license, to mine. The issue of Akunta mining, I'm not sure what Akunta mining was doing in that forest, because we've had even releases here on Metro TV. We've discussed releases from the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, indicating what they had done with Akunta mining on the ground, in the field, destroying what accoutrements that they were using for the mining activities, burning them and all that. But we had the president coming out to say that his investigations have shown that Akunta mining was not into any illegal mining. So on what grounds did the ministry, of natural resources go in to destroy Akonta Mining's activities. We've had that's an example.
I'm listening to what you're saying.
Right.
You started off by saying that prospecting and mining are almost the same thing. I disagree on that. Technology has evolved when it comes to prospecting. Sometimes it's just testing the soil. Sometimes they have all these gadgets that can literally,
they dig into the ground to test.
Beyond digging, sometimes they even have some infrared something. And there are two agencies that have a broad ideas, there's like a board where they know where all the deposits are, at least based on research. Now, when it comes to Akonta Mining, it cannot be that it's hearsay that is letting you make the claim. I can, if it wasn't for the fact that we now know that Frimpong Boateng himself had a company, his son has a company and all that, it would have been just hearsay, but it's factual. When it comes to Akonta Mining, I do not know their operations and whatnot, but anybody, and we've seen it happen, people have been throwing names into the space, dragging people in and whatnot. I remember Akonta Mining themselves gave responded to the allegations, and you always pull up. I don't have this thing on with me, but I'm sure you have it.
Yes, I'm trying to pull it up.
In terms of the concession, when they got it, the activities, how they are guided by the principles surrounding their business. So, I mean, you can just throw in any company and say what. Of course, when you mention Akonta Mining, it's because it's linked to somebody specifically in the party, who's a party stalwart. So it makes it easy to throw him under the bus and say that's Akonta Mining. But really and truly, you, Annie, have you validated this claim yourself? Have you seen it yourself? Do you have videos to that effect? Because, I mean, you do investigations and whatnot. But let's come back to the fight. No matter what we say or do, government may come and go. It is a full-blown cancer. Chemo, radiation, whatever modern methods, we need to all fight it. We do not need to play even politics with it, because at the end of the day, when you go and open the tap to drink water, it's not asking you whether you are NPP, NDC, CPP, PNC, to give you clean water or compromised water to that effect. Whatever he said till date, he himself has no moral rights, as far as I'm concerned.
He has no moral rights?
Yes.
Professor Frimpong Boateng.
He doesn't, because when it mattered, when he sat in the chair, he made it nearly impossible to fight it. He himself, per what he said.
Oh, wow.
He made it, yes. Based on what he said, because I don't see why you have the position, you say nothing, you do nothing, you look the other way. When issues came, some of us defended it. Because based on what he said.